back page of the Sun today, the headline, and decked. Troubled star for sale. United ready to flog for cut price fee. Talking about Antony, of course. In light of that, Erik ten Hag has been chatting to the press today ahead of their game at Forest tomorrow night in the FA Cup. And he had this to say about his player.
I know his abilities, and he has great abilities. He is, when he plays, how I know from the past, he is unstoppable. He is no defender, I think, can stop him because he's one of the quickest players in the first 10 yards. So when he plays that game, then he will perform. And I'm very confident he will do for the future. I'm sure he is resilient. He is a character, and he will fight back. So I back him in that place. And he has now to wait for his chance. And once he's there, he has to pick him.
Unstoppable, and quite often from Ten Hag's point of view, unplayable, as he proved at the weekend when he had many options to bring him on, and I think he got a few seconds at the end of the game. Flex, from United View, of course. Oh, great. TV joins us now. Flex, good afternoon.
Hello, Flex.
Afternoon, guys.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, this. I mean, there is undoubted talent there, and every club has a player. You know it's in them. You just think, you're just waiting for it to come out. Sometimes it does. Quite often it doesn't.
Yeah, he's looked terrible since he's been at Manchester United. That's the truth of it. I think in the first season, he scored a few goals and did okay. Obviously, getting a debut goal against Arsenal is always a good way to get going, and it still wasn't. It wasn't probably as bad a debut season as some made out, but it still wasn't lighting the world alight. And then obviously, when you see what's happened this season, the form and the confidence of him is completely gone. And now we actually question his ability. You sort of say, is he even a good player? Of course, that coupled with the price tag and situations that he's had off the field, which Ten Hag has alluded to. I mean, look, it's no surprise to me that Ten Hag is going to back him vocally in the press conferences. And, this is a player that Erik ten Hag had at Ajax. This is a player that Erik ten Hag insisted that Manchester United buy, even considering the price. Yes, we went in for him too late in that window, and Ajax had already done their business and said it's going to take a big fee to get him out. And the Manchester United of old, of how they run, which is what we want to change, say no problem, we'll pay it. But he's been absolutely awful this season, and Ten Hag can say what he wants in the press conferences. But at the moment, what a manager does at 3 p.m. when the team sheet comes out, or 2 p.m. on a Saturday when the team sheet comes out, that tells you what they really think about their players, especially in this moment. Like you said there, guys, he brought him on because Lindelof was injured right in the dying embers of that game at left back. He started Amari Forson, a young kid who was playing YouTube football for SE Dons a couple of years ago. What a great story for him, by the way. But brought him on, gave him a start on the right-hand side instead of Antony when we were decimated with injuries. He then brought on Ahmad on the right-hand side when there was a chance to play Antony. So in this moment, and for the foreseeable this season, he hasn't been picking him because he knows he's way off it right now. But it doesn't surprise me to hear him say that he thinks he can get back to his best. But does Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos and the people who make decisions see it that way?
We, as fans, we sort of accept that sort of player, don't we? With attitude, bit surly, tricks and flicks that don't always come off. If there's some sort of end product, if you feel like they're trying, and the moment it doesn't look like that, and it's looked like that all season, then that's when we start to write them off, innit, Flex?
Absolutely. And the worst thing about Antony is that he actually always does try. Some of the things that Marcus Rashford has been labelled with this season, looking laboured, hung dog expression, not running hard enough. Antony actually, runs his backside off. He does. It's just not very good. It's the long and short of it. He hasn't been very good. He'll work up and down, and he'll be honest. He'll run, but his final decision has been bad. His confidence is so low that he won't take anybody on. He's really, really one-footed, so he won't go down the outside and swinging crosses. And listen, he got that goal against Newport, which everybody clowned him for when he scored that tap-in with his right foot, ironically. And you could see what it meant to him because he's in a bad, bad place. He is still young. He's come to a new country, a new team, a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's clearly had things going on off-field, and he's not been right. I do think he's better than what we're seeing now, but for 80 million... I don't think Antony will ever arrive at Manchester United and be that player that we want him to be, personally.
Could it be a confidence thing? Do you think he could benefit from a different captain to Fernandes?
I'm not going to put that on Bruno. There are thoughts about Bruno as the captain in general that aren't conducive to helping the team. But a reason why Antony's been so poor, I'm not going to say it's because Bruno keeps moaning. I wouldn't say that. I think it's purely the things that he has going on himself. I honestly do feel that, because he wasn't this bad last season. There were moments, he's doing the little spin move and, it's going out of play a couple of times. And and I was a big advocate for, listen, media lay off him. That's how he feels. He wants to stay tapped into the games. Let him express himself. We're too quick to sort of, ask players not to do it. But then he starts not doing the basics right. And then it's like, okay, well, this is a joke now. So I wouldn't say it's because Bruno's being a poor captain, which is a separate conversation, by the way. But I do believe it's more to do with his own confidence, with what he's going through. And then obviously Erik ten Hag won't play him. Then the team's disjointed when he does come in, and he's not getting an opportunity. And rightly so, he shouldn't be getting an opportunity, because he has been that bad. Ahmad deserves an opportunity over Antony right now for an extended run in the team. What's he got to do to get some games? So no, I wouldn't put it all on Bruno.
And just finally, I mean, there's no excuses, because he's got a coach that he's worked. If it was a coach, he'd come in and there was a new coach and the coach didn't fancy him, that would be different. But this is the guy that has been saying there. He trusts him. He's worked with him. He knows of his quality. Everything is laid on. Everything's in place for him to perform, and he just isn't.
And he just isn't exactly that, guys. And if this persists with him not playing, not being picked, it shows you that the base level of what Antony's doing just isn't good enough. In training, we saw what happened with Jadon Sancho and what he thought of Jadon Sancho with his base level of training, which led to him not being here anymore. We now see the guy that, like you said, he invested so much into and knows all about and can swear by him that he's that good, and I know he's going to come through, and I know he's good, he's got the mentality. But in this moment, he sees him as unplayable, literally. I can't pick him. I'm going to play Amari Forson, who's never made a Premier League start, instead of him. And then when the game starts going badly, I still won't bring you on. That tells us everything. So it'll be very interesting to see what his team selection is tomorrow night at Forest, because if Manchester United get dumped out of that, and my prediction is sort of we'll get absolutely fed to the hounds against City, and Aston Villa beat Luton, which will probably happen. That'll be Manchester United 11 points off top four. So that'll be out the top four race and out of the FA Cup. Tell you what, forget Antony. I don't know if Ten Hag will be here at Manchester United next season if that happens.
That's another conversation. Cheers, Flex. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
There we are, Flex from United View TV. Thanks to him. We did ask you, opening the Most Sugars Hall of Fame. We were quite surprised to read that Trini Woodall, of Trini and Susanna fame, of course, used to like 4 sugars in her tea. She's ditched it now, but she didn't look like someone who went for the 4 sugars. And it tends to be people, a lot of tradespeople, as we were saying earlier on. I had a plasterer working for me. He used to ask for a caramel latte with 5 sugars. The spoon almost stood up on its own. Great plasterer, terrible teeth, says Adam in Essex.
Nice. Ryan says, painter and decorator here. I have no sugars, but if the customer doesn't offer a cup of tea, it will be reflected in the bill, so be warned. And there we are.
Wow.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.